Good morning to all of you, and Chinmay, thank you very much for that wonderful introduction. How much is ChatGPT, how much is you? But the enthusiasm is you, right? That is not ChatGPT. Thank you for inviting me to this function. It brought me back to Electronic City. I do come to Electronic City, but I stop at IIIT Bangalore. I don't cross that gate. But now I got a chance to go around and come here, right? Because of all your traffic rules and things like that. But that's fine. I think you need to sustain that. You need to maintain that discipline, order. How you manage this township, if we can scale up to Bangalore, imagine what Bangalore would be, right? In fact, when we created this Electronic City township, we actually told them, why don't we do on the other side of the city, Pina also, as a township. And, the resistance was too high from the government. That was probably already established with a lot of people eyeing for, the benefits from that place. Because we wanted to give the same support to SMEs on the other side. And I believe it's one of the Asia's largest industrial area, Pina Industrial Estate. And if we had done that, and any change is difficult, but once you do that, you will see the benefit and you will clearly progress. So hopefully, at least some of the changes that you brought about in terms of how you manage traffic, how you manage garbage. We do need that in Bangalore now. I think we need to take it to the rest of the country. I also want to, compliment every single one of you because, from Electronic City to the world, truly created I feel transformation for India. The last, ELCIA is I think 30 years old now, more than 30 years old, right? So Electronic City is also, in some sense, 30 plus years old, and Electronic City was created after India opened up, liberalized the economy. So in that sense, the journey of liberalization is also the journey of Electronic City, and we are probably the best example of what liberalization can do to the companies which are here, to how this township was created, how this is managed, and how we have reinvented ourselves through the companies, through the people who are working here, to create a new India. And that, I believe, is really the lessons that I believe we can take it to the rest of the world. Of course, the employment that Electronic City creates, the revenues that it generates. I think it employs today 150,000 people, 150,000 people, approximately 2 lakh people. Okay, I'm corrected. And the total revenue coming out of the companies in Electronic City is what? 10 billion, right? Huh? Right. So, this is a truly example for Bangalore, for rest of the country, and that's why we need to sustain it. It should get all the support it deserves, and we need to actually make sure that, because technology is continuously changing, evolving, new technologies are emerging, and I'll talk about it. So how do we leverage these to make sure that we continue to be relevant? I think that's the key point. So first of all, let's look at technology. So again, I'm going to calibrate my talk with the birth of electronic city, right? The birth of electronic city is when around the same time, approximately the same, 1994 was when the internet really opened up, because Netscape introduced the Netscape browser. Mosaic browser was introduced in 1994. That opened up the internet. Actually, when I look around the room, most of the people are middle-aged or slightly older. I don't see too many young people here. So I think all of you are familiar with, the opening of the internet and things like that. But to the youngsters, I think it may seem as, they believe that it was always there, internet was always there. But starting then, it's amazing to think that only in 30 years, the world has changed in front of our eyes. We didn't have, mobile phones were also starting to be introduced at that point. Mobile phones really took off much later. Google as a company, Amazon 1994, Google 1997, Facebook 2003 or 4 or something like that. Many of the things today we take for granted came afterwards. And that is what evolution of technology does. It creates new industries, it creates new opportunities, it creates new applications of technology, which transforms industry. It allows you to create new leadership. So the companies that I mentioned, Google, Amazon, Facebook now is Meta, and now of course recently OpenAI. These have all become very large companies in the last 30 years. Very, very large companies. And of course, electronic city really took off with IT services. And if you look at the top 10 companies in the world in IT services, 5 are in India, and all of them some relationship with electronic city. Right? So from India to the world, we truly can make it happen. With new and newer technology introduced, as I said, the new applications are possible, new use cases come into being, the way we do things change, and new leadership emerges. And this is an opportunity for us to actually create new companies that will become leaders in the world. Now, the opportunity for India, there are 2-3 things that we want to keep in mind at this point. One is technology superiority. Okay? We need to own certain platforms, certain technologies, and be seen as leaders in that. It's something that we must internalize, aspire for, and make indeed happen. I believe we can indeed do that, and we need to work towards that. Second, we need to understand strategic autonomy that we require in the country. So during COVID, we saw that ventilators were in huge demand. We were importing ventilators, and there is nothing we could buy at that point, and there was a huge demand for that. We quickly scrambled around, designed a ventilator. I think some of the IITs did that, manufactured it, and now we export ventilators to the rest of the world. I think in 8 months, they actually designed, developed and brought to market ventilators, which then now we are exporting to the world. It just shows, what we are capable of if we put our minds to. Again, the wars that are happening around the world today, including our own short skirmish with Pakistan, Operation Sindoor, clearly demonstrated the need for strategic autonomy, the need for self-sufficiency in things, because in today's world, either you're denied technology or there is a tariff on that technology. So we need to figure out how we can manufacture, design, develop and manufacture these technologies in India, in our country. So whenever new technology comes, new applications are created, new use cases emerge, and that's the time when we can actually create new products, create new companies, create new leadership and things like that. And we have to think big. See, the challenge, I feel, we have a large market, we don't leverage that. We don't consolidate our requirements. We don't say, buy Indian. And if you look at, let's say, the Japanese automakers, what happens is the tier 1, the OEMs, the tier 1 suppliers, etc., all come together. They typically buy their components from established suppliers, typically from Japanese SMEs. Then you look at, let's say German automobiles and things like that. Typically there's a set of component manufacturers which are again the SMEs in Germany, etc. But when it comes to India, what happens? We always focus on lowest cost, which is okay. But if there is at least an Indian product in the market which is equivalent in terms of specifications but 10% more expensive, I think we should choose our Indian product. Because there is a responsibility on each one of us to support our industry, support jobs being created, wealth being created in the country, and the question of strategic autonomy. I think we need to, see, if we don't develop our own companies, nobody else is going to do this. So this is the concept of ecosystem. This is the concept of actually developing an industry. See, the reason why IT services industry today is globally recognized is because of its scale. It is very large. $300 billion, 5 million people work. This has become the default. Whenever anybody, anywhere in the world thinks about software, they think about India. They think about Bangalore. Because of the scale, this has become the default option. Nobody thinks about anything else actually at this point. Right? Everybody wants to come to Bangalore. That scale came about because we built our companies, but we also built an industry. Consciously, even though we are competitors, we worked together to build an industry. We helped each other. We created NASSCOM as an industry association. We lobbied with the government with one voice. Every policy that the government created, they would consult with the industry. And the industry delivered, right? It's 7-8% of our GDP, 20% of our exports. If we have a comfortable position in foreign exchange today, one of the big reasons is the IT services industry. So when you look at all these things, so why am I saying all these things? We need to do this in other industry verticals. And we can do that. Two-wheelers, we are number 1 in the world today. Right? Because we have some large companies, and every industry will be dominated by few large companies, a large number of mid-sized companies, and a long tail of small and medium enterprises, which in the future will become big and established and large. So every industry that we need to think about this kind of structure, we need to support industry creation, we need to support our own companies. When you look at the supply chain, we need to ensure that we develop them and we help establish that industry leadership in this country. We can do that. What we have is talent. I also believe now we have the resources, we have the market, we have a government that is favorable, especially Karnataka, if you look at the government of India also. And in the last 5 years, government of India has stepped up its investment in innovation. So when I stepped down from Infosys in 2014, I said I will work with startups, I will work with research organizations on the innovation ecosystem. On the side of startups, we have become the third best ecosystem for startups in the world. So, and they're attracting billions of dollars. Hats off to the startup founders. Many of them are very, very young. And when I talk to them, what comes across is they're fearless. They believe they can beat the best in the world. They can compete with the best in the world. And that's the reason why, they're doing actually very well. On the research, progress has been slower, but I am now confident to say that in the research side also, I'm seeing significant change happening. I'm seeing organizations that are set up to do certain innovative set of activities, create new products, transfer that to create new companies, etc., starting to happen in India, especially translational research, what is called TRL 4 and above. That kind of activity is starting to happen in India, and we need to take this further. So now coming back to humans, machines, and meaning 2.0. So this is not new. That's why I wanted to talk about Internet Explorer and the opening up Internet and things like that. Waves and waves of new technologies happen. We then figure out as individuals, as companies, as nations also, how this technology can benefit us. How we leverage that to create new industries, new companies, new growth opportunities, etc. I just want to share one more data. 1981 is when Infosys was founded. The global economy was $11 trillion. Today, that's after 44 years, the global economy is $110 trillion. 10 times growth in the last 45 years. 10 times. And I'm fortunate to have lived through that, actually. And it's primarily led by innovation. So that's the opportunity. So from today to the next 30, 40 years, imagine this $110 trillion going to $1,000 trillion, 10 times growth again. That's the possibility. That's why we now say that India will go from $4 trillion to $30 trillion by 2047. It is possible. We have to make it happen. Right? Now, 1993, the IT services industry was about approximately $150 million. Today, $300 billion. So we have seen amazing growth in front of our eyes, right? So again, these are the data points that gives us the confidence. And now we have this intelligence revolution. So most of 1993 to today was what is called the knowledge era. The world's knowledge came to our fingertips through the browser and things like that. You can access anything you want through the search paradigm. It was available on your mobile phone. It changed the way we access knowledge. It actually became a second brain for us. right? Anything, you will just open the phone and browse. We don't remember things now. Anything you will just instantaneously access. It's a knowledge revolution. Now we are at the beginning of the intelligence revolution. Because everything that we see, everything that we use, everything will have intelligence built in. What is intelligence? It is able to sense, transfer that information, accept, control, maybe even autonomously respond. Sense and respond. That's intelligence. So everything that you see around us will have intelligence built in. And then you can interact now. And we are moving to a world where it says humans, machines. It's human plus machines. Right? We can now interact with machines. In fact, so much so, now people are thinking about, you've heard about neural link, right? You can actually communicate from your brain. Your thoughts can be communicated to machines. Even in Indian Institute of Science, there is a project where they are looking at connecting the brain to machines. Right? So it's human plus machines. It's not human or machines. It's human and machines. And that's how we need to look at it. And that's the history of use of technology. Man always has leveraged technology for personal benefit, personal use, and augmented their capabilities using machines. It's true in every part of our life. Moving from place A to place B, we have now automobiles, right? We don't need to walk. We augment our human capability using automobiles, and we do far better than nature. We can transport now 800 people using an Airbus 380, place A to place B at almost speed of light. So we always exceed human capability when we use machines. Same thing is going to happen. We are now creating super intelligence. What one human being can do, machines can do now far better. So how do we now combine these capabilities? How do we leverage this? And as individuals, we need to leverage this, and we need to figure out. And we are already seeing that. ChatGPT, Chinmay already said he just used ChatGPT to figure out, right? That's what we all do now. Whether it's wrong or right, we don't know, right? We just accept. We shouldn't. We need to understand that machines can also make mistakes. But we augment human capabilities using machines, we must. And this is a huge, huge opportunity in everything that we do. Education, for example. Now we can give personal tutor for every single student, which can educate that individual at their own pace of learning, at their own mode of learning. Somebody learns by reading, somebody learns by listening, somebody learns using, seeing things like videos and things like that. Use cases. So pedagogy has to change. What is classroom? Originally the thought was teacher was transferring knowledge. Today the knowledge outside the individual, outside any organization is so large that transfer of knowledge, there are other means to do that. So students will learn by themselves because they can access this knowledge and they can learn it just in time. Previously, we used to learn and use it for the rest of our career. Today, we have to learn every month because things are changing, right? So just in time only is possible. So you need to actually equip the student to do that. How do you use just in time knowledge, etc.? So the pedagogy for teaching changes, right? So what you teach then is working in teams, honoring your commitments, making a plan, building a team. How do you create a high performance team? Things like that. How do you take calculated risk or introduce new innovations? The things that you teach are very different, and we need to. So I'm just giving you one example of what AI can do to education. Everything that we do will change because of this. Organizations are going to change. Our factories are going to change. It will take less number of people because many of the current tasks are outsourced. When I talk to college students, I say that, when I did my MSc Physics, the project report I created, I hand wrote, went to a typist, he typed it. If there is a mistake, you retype the whole page. They are all surprised. Of course, they wouldn't have probably seen a typewriter also. It's there only in a museum today, if it is available. Right? But professions disappear, way we do things change. Today you can create a much superior project report just using Word. Today probably you don't even need to do that. You just tell GPT, I want a project report which does this. And students are better at doing this than we are actually. And they also know how to fix it so that you can't even figure out, that is, they have used ChatGPT. That's how the world is progressing, right? So this is what we need to now learn. But how do you change education? How do you change research? How do you incorporate this into our day-to-day activities, our business processes, everything that we can now reimagine using this? And this allows us to create new products, new services, new businesses. It's an amazing opportunity. Will it impact jobs? It will impact current jobs. Because the switching of how you do things into new formats and things like that, right? So it will impact current jobs, but it will also create many new jobs. Again, I'm old enough to remember all these things. Actually, when 1985, banks introduced computers. The unions rebelled against the introduction of computers. They said jobs will be lost. Right? You can't introduce computers. And so it was not called computers, it was called automatic ledger posting machines, ALPMs. And then they allowed, and they said every teller, no job loss, will get an ALPM machine. Right? That was how it was introduced. I think at that point, I remember reading somewhere, the whole banking industry was very small. It was employing probably maybe 15 lakh people or something like that. Fast forward today, 40 years later, think about the banking industry today. Much larger. As an economy, India was about $170 billion. Today, India is $4 trillion. Banking industry is amazingly exploded. And the number of jobs may not be proportionally large, but it has definitely increased. And now we do banking using our mobile phones. We don't visit the branch most of the time. Right? Banking has changed. The industry has grown, more jobs are created, and that's what will happen. Every sector will grow, and every sector. So from 4 trillion to 30 trillion, imagine, it's almost 10 times. Employment will be created, but you have to stay relevant. You have to learn, you have to train yourself with new knowledge, new skills, new capabilities. So if you are a software engineer, now you can actually talk to the machine and the machine generates the code. But you still need to imagine what the design will be of the system. Right? What new capabilities are now possible with AI. Again, that's your creativity, that's your innovation, etc. So humans will always be required as long as we are ready to embrace the technology, as long as we are able to equip with ourselves with the technology, as long as we are able to learn new skills. And this has to continue lifelong. Last thing I will say, because you have humans, machines, meaning. What does this mean? See, human brain is one thing that nature has created. It's the best computer in the world. Even after all the progress that we have had, we still have not figured out the human brain. It's 2 pounds in weight approximately, consumes 20 watts of power, 80 billion neurons, trillions of connections between those neurons, and every one of us has it. Right? And interestingly, most of the decisions that we make, we think we are controlling the brain. It's the reverse. It's the brain controlling us. Most of the decisions are automatic. And when you say intuition, what does it mean? Brain decides. Chinmay also talked about connecting the dots. Right? That's what creativity is. It's all there in your brain. We connect the dots suddenly and new thoughts emerge. Right? It's not, it's the knowledge which is already there when we connect the dots. That's thinking, right? And coming up with new ideas. It's connecting, new connections are made. And that's what the brain is all about. We have not figured out how to do this. But we have a tradition in India, we have a culture and we have knowledge in India which somehow over the years we have forgotten. Because 5,000 years back, we figured out the brain is very powerful. We figured out we can't control the brain. The brain controls us. What is meditation? What is yoga? It's the ability to control your brain, program your brain. 5,000 years we figured out that if you want to control the brain, how can you, every other organ you can think of stopping it and restarting it. Heart, they figured out how to replace it, stop it, restart it. Brain is one organ, till you die it's working. In fact, now people think that after you die also for the next 30 minutes or so, it's actually still functioning. They were able to detect signals actually in the brain. Now we don't know. So that's the new area of research. What is that thinking that's happening at that point? We don't know. But this is interesting that we now are trying to figure out this brain. So man plus machine. See, for the first time in the history of the world, we are going to compete with intelligence that is far superior to human intelligence. And I think we have to go back to the philosophical roots of us. And this is something that I believe India can contribute to the world in terms of the philosophy of spirituality. Of course, meditation, yoga, etc. are our contributions to the world in terms of understanding how the brain functions, consciousness, etc. And that meaning is about knowing our role, consciously knowing our role, deliberately doing things, deliberately managing, making decisions. See, we believe, I said that we are in control, but it's not. Our emotions, again, it's the brain talking. Emotions are nothing but, autonomous decisions that we are making actually. How do you learn to control this organ, the brain? Because if you do that, then the man plus machine becomes very powerful, because you will know how to use this technology effectively, efficiently, usefully, create impact, do the right things, ethical use of machines. But that has to be a human decision. And this question of machines controlling us? Only if we let it happen. Right? The fear of social media, it controls us. That's because we have let the machine control us. So this, to me, the meaning piece is understanding our role in this world. I believe this is why we have been given that intelligence. Ability to take the right decisions, ability to do the right thing, ability to bring ethics, culture, values. This is the reason why we need our own language models and things like that. Because it has to be infused with our culture. Otherwise it will take the wrong decisions, because we are asking ChatGPT to decide now, right? Where do I go today for eating? ChatGPT will decide, right? And what will it tell you? Because it's being trained on US knowledge. It will tell you, go for this, I'm just using an example, Italian restaurant. It will probably not tell you organic, your taste of food and things like that. Because it doesn't know our culture. This is why we need to take control, we need to have these things develop here. And this is, again, I come back to this is an opportunity. And of course, Electronic City is one small microcosm of this, but it's an example. Here at least, you are in control. Okay, everybody else in the country, I'm telling you, is jealous of you. You have your own township. Few people sitting in front here decide all the things that happen in Electronic City. Few companies decide what is happening here. Everybody works closely together as an extended family. You have your own traffic rules, you control everything. You have your own budgets, etc., etc. You are the jealousy of the world, actually. And you need to talk about these things, right? And you have to keep up. This is your challenge also. You have to protect this and keep up and make sure that you create the next generation of leaders who believe in this. Right? There is, unless you know the history, unless you know where you came from, how you came here, what was the purpose, etc. You have to internalize that. And to the youngsters, please get involved with ELCIA, etc. right away, so that you learn from the current set of leaders. And make sure that you internalize the purpose and you sustain this movement going forward. Because this is what needs to expand to improve the country. I believe this is what, of course, we need to also make sure that the companies here embrace new technology, companies here maintain the leadership, maintain this momentum, this $10-12 billion of revenue that we generate must actually go to $100 billion. That's the opportunity, because if India has to go to $30 trillion, Electronic City has to go to $100 billion. You have to create plans. See, it always starts as a dream. Then you create plans, you start believing, you create step-by-step process to do that. How did the industry grow from $150 million to $300 billion? How did Infosys go from 10 million? 1992, we were probably 10 crores, not even 10 million, 10 crores. To today, I think Infosys is about $20 billion. All of these things is planning. First of all, believing that we can do that, planning, and systematically executing. That never changes. And this is what humans do very, very well. In the era of machines, this is what we need to do. How to use machines properly, how to create impact, how you do things ethically. These are decisions that we do, and this is something that you have to do using your brain. Don't outsource it to ChatGPT. Thank you all very much, and all the very best. Thank you.